No matter how simple your project is, there will always be complications associated with that project. Now, even talking about the simplest project that you can imagine, the contract associated with that project will have various complications. The purpose of this video is to highlight a number of these complications. Now, to do so, I came up with this very simple scenario. Let's assume that we had two parties, party A and party B. Party A is the owner and party B is the builder. Party A, as an owner, decides that there is a granny flat project that they desire to complete or to build. They get the builder, party B, and the contract is signed for $100,000, the value of the contract, and the duration that's specified to complete that project is given as a single year. It doesn't seem as a complicated project. The value of it is very small. The duration of it isn't that long. But even then, there are a number of complications that underline this particular project. Let's have a look at these complications. So complication number one. Complication number one is associated with what we refer to as the interim payment on account. What is that? Well, it's, of course, the builder isn't going to be assumed to be capable of financing the project throughout the whole duration. And as such, they need to be receiving constant payments throughout the full duration of the project. This is what we refer to as the interim payment on account. Such payments would need to be agreed upon by both parties. It would act as a provision, the specified date on which such payments are to be made available to the contractor. So the owner has to pay that payment to the contractor. And the value of such payments are in accordance with the value of the works that have been undertaken by the builder. In a lot of projects, there are cases where the owner refuses to pay on time, or the builder asks for a value that is more than the value of works that they've completed. So this gives rise to disputes, and this is very common in projects. Complication number two is related to retention. What is retention? Retention is where a certain percentage of the amount that's payable to a contractor, i.e. a builder, is retained by the owner. What's the purpose of doing that? Well, the owner can utilize that amount in case that the builder refuses to rectify some of the defects at the end of the project. Now, a lot of complications arise in a number of projects because the owner at the end refuses to give back that retention to the builder, even if there are no defects, or the builder has a problem with the owner retaining a certain percentage throughout the project, and hence a dispute arises and it leads to a case in court. Complication number three is associated with the fact that in building projects, the owner can move in to the building even if the building hasn't been completed fully yet. So what I mean by that is that as long as the building is safe for people to occupy it, the owner has the opportunity to move in and start utilizing the building. Now, in a lot of instances, there's still tiny defects, minor works that need to be completed by the contractor. And that's where the defect liability period comes into play. It allows the contractor, i.e. the builder, to come back and rectify the defects. Why is it an advantage to the contractor, that defect liability period? Well, it's associated with the fact that the owner can't get someone else and rectify these issues and then back charge the builder for the amounts. So it'll be cheaper for the contractor, of course, to fix their own issues rather than have the owner get someone else and then back charge the builder for such amounts. Now, complications, of course, arise because in a lot of cases, disputes happen where the owner gets someone else to fix the defect, or the contractor refuses to come back and solve these defects. And the final complication is one associated with provisions that allow the contract value to be adjusted. So you don't have a fixed sum for a contract, but it can be adjusted, and it can be adjusted due to a number of reasons. So some of the reasons I've listed down over here. Provisional sums, that's the first reason. What are provisional sums? Where these are adjusted to reflect final costs of performing certain activities that are uncertain. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for instance, party B the builder over here, decides that excavation works can't be valued at a precise amount, and hence they choose to include that as a provisional sum. So a reason for that is because maybe they're not sure of the subsoil condition. So once they perform the activity, they then charge the owner for that final cost of performing the activity. Prime cost is another item that's associated with provisions that adjust the final sum of contract. What's a prime cost item? Well, an example of that would be where the owner desires to, let's say, select certain materials for their project. So, but they still haven't made the selection at the time that the contract is signed. And so only when, the owner makes the selection would the contractor charge the owner for such a selection. So they chose the materials, and then the contractor gets that material and installs it for the owner, and then the owner gets charged. And finally, variations, and that's where the scope of works changes, and it allows the contractor to get extra money for the change of scope. So these were a number of complications that I highlighted for you. So no matter how simple the project is, there's always going to be some sort of complication. The most likely complications to arise are the ones that I went through in this video.